What is up, people? This is Abhilash Thakur. Welcome to Sailor's Guide. Alright guys, so we are back again with the rule number 8, that is action to avoid collision. Until now we have done rule number 5, 6 and 7. So as we have covered lookout, as per the lookout you have reduced the speed of the vessel, that is rule number 6, safe speed, and we have various factors on which the safe speed depends. After that you have to identify the risk of collision, that we have covered in rule number 7. Now as you have discovered the risk of collision at sea, now you have to take the action to avoid collision. Alright, so as per rule number 8, I will give you the brief what is inside this rule. Basically at sea we take two actions to avoid the collision. First is the alteration of the course. Second is alteration of speed. Either you reduce the speed or increase speed as per the circumstances. Second one is the alteration of course, either the port, starboard, or you can turn around. Okay, these things you do to avoid the collision. So now we will go part by part and we will cover up the technicality of the rules, and there are minor things which I will discuss through it when we will go through all the parts. Okay, so let's get started. Alright guys, so we are going to start with the rule number 8, part A. Okay, so it's very simple. Any action to avoid collision shall be taken in accordance with the rules of this part, and shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be positive, made in ample time, with due regards to the observance of the seamanship. So basically what they are saying, if you want to avoid the collision, it should be with the accordance with the rules of this part, which means action to be taken as per the rule number 8. Okay, if you want to avoid the collision. And it also, if the circumstances of the case admit, you have to be positive. Whatever action you are taking, either reducing speed, increasing speed, going to the port, going to the starboard, you should be positive about your action. You should have no confusion about your action. Another thing is made in ample time. You have to take it in ample time. You should have sufficient time so that you can take the action and made it very clear to another vessel, so that that you are taking the action. You have to take the early actions to avoid any confusion between you and another vessel. Okay, with due regards to the observance of good seamanship. What they are telling, that you need to be vigilant when you are out at sea. It's not like you are taking the action to avoid collision with one vessel and you got tangled up with another vessel. Okay, so you need to take care of all the vessels which are around you and how they can affect you and how your alteration can affect the situation. Your action might end up being close quarter situation with another vessel, so you have to take care of this part. You need to be you have to give good regards to the observance of good seamanship. Okay, need to be vigilant. Okay, so this is what the A part says. Let's go to the B part. Alright guys, so now we are going to start with the part B of this rule. So let's read it out. Any alteration of the course and or speed to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be large enough to be readily apparent to another vessel observing visually or by radar. A succession of small alteration of course and or speed should be avoided. So very simply they are saying that if you take any alteration of course or either speed or maybe the combination of both, that is why they have written and or. So if you have taken any alteration to avoid the collision, it should be readily available to another vessel which is observing you visually or by radar. Let's say you are taking the action to the starboard side to avoid collision with the head-on situation, which we are going to cover in rule number 14 ahead. This is your vessel, this is another vessel. You have to go starboard, this vessel also have to go starboard in this situation. So basically your alteration to avoid the collision should be large enough. It should be large enough. That is the point you need to take care of. It should not be like 2 degrees, 3 degrees, put 10, 20, 30 degrees as per the requirement, so that it is readily apparent. So another vessel can see that you are taking the action, there are no confusions. Okay, if you are taking small alteration of courses or the speed, it might not be easy for another vessel to judge that you are taking the action. Okay, so that is why you need to take a large alteration so that another vessel can observe. Large alteration might be of a course or of a speed or combination of both of them. All right, this you need to take care of. And they have told that a succession of small alteration of course and or speed should be avoided. That's what they're saying, that small alteration, let's say 2 degrees, you are taking 2 degrees, after 1 minute again 2 degrees, after 2 minutes again 2 degrees, that will be not a readily apparent to another vessel. So that would create a confusion between two of you that you are taking action or not as per the rules. So to avoid any confusion between you two people, you need to take the action large enough. That's it, very simple. Okay, so let's jump on to the C part. Alright guys, so we are going to start with the part C. So in this part, what they are telling us that alteration of the course alone will be effective action for you out at sea. Okay, there is no need to reduce the speed because you have sufficient sea room. You can go port or starboard as per the rules. Okay, and you have sufficient sea room, you can create a space between you two vessels and you can pass safely. So that is what the purpose of the rule is, you have to pass safely. So alteration of the course will do it out at sea. Obviously reducing the speed will give you more time to assess the situation, but normally out at sea when you have sufficient sea room, we do not do that. There is no need to do it. Okay, it's not like you cannot reduce. In emergency situations you can do it. Okay, so this is just a so the alteration of the course alone may be the most effective action. That is what they are telling us. Okay, it will obviously create a space between you two and it will be readily apparent visually. Okay, avoid a close quarter situation provided that it is made in good time. Now you have to take care that if you are doing the course alteration alone, it should be taken in good time. You have ample time to take the action. Is substantial and does not result in any another close quarter situation. That is what they are trying to say. If you are altering the course, it does not result in another close quarter situation, which is very important. Let's say you are the same situation, we can take a head-on situation. Let's say there is one more vessel coming like this. This is your own vessel, this is your target vessel. Okay, this is another target vessel, we name is T2. This is your own vessel. Okay, as per the head-on situation, this will go to starboard, you will also go to the starboard. Okay, but you might end up getting close quarter situation with this vessel. Yeah, so that is the problem here. You need to take care of this thing, that we will discuss further, that how we will tackle this situation. But firstly we need to understand the rules. So that is what they are saying, that it does not result in another close quarter situation. Your alteration should not be like that. Okay, so as per the rule, you go to the starboard, this vessel also go to the starboard. So in this situation you cannot actually alter because it will create a confusion. Okay, so either if you have a sufficient sea room, you have to take a long alteration to go like this. Okay, provided you take it in ample time, otherwise this vessel will get confused. All right, and this vessel will also go to the starboard, so you might get the space to pass safely between these two vessels. okay, because this vessel already knows this another vessel is on your port side. You cannot alter. Obviously they will take a sufficient action to avoid the collision, but it's not like that you do not take the action. You have to take the action like this, or either this another thing which I told you, you can reduce the speed so they do not come at the same time. This vessel will go to the starboard and you will have sufficient sea room, pass easily, no problem. So you can do two things: alteration of the course, alteration of the speed. That is what we discussed earlier. Okay, so let's jump on to the next part. Okay guys, so collision with another vessel shall be. Alright guys, so we are going to the part D, which is very simple. They are saying that your action should be such that you need to pass with a safe distance to another vessel. It should not be like you'd have taken a small alteration and you can go just 2 cables or 3 cables from another vessel and that is it. No, you have to pass with the safe distance with another vessel. That is the purpose of taking the action. So you have to pass with the safe distance. Your action should be such. Alright, so another thing is you have to take care that you have to check the effectiveness of your action which you have taken earlier. The effectiveness of the action shall be carefully checked. That is the thing you have to do until the another vessel is finally passed and clear. Until what time? Until the vessel is finally passed and clear. Alright, what they normally I can give you the example that there is one vessel and you are overtaking it. Okay, you have, let's say you were coming like this and you have taken the alteration and now you are coming like this. You have created a safe distance, let's say 1 mile. CPA you are maintaining and you are overtaking this vessel. So what happens, as soon as this vessel will get passed, then only you will try to come back to your course line, which might be here. Okay, it's not like you have come here and you try to alter from here only. No, you have to pass clear of this vessel. You have to check the effectiveness of the action until the vessel passed and clear. You have to keep this thing in mind always. First pass it clear and then you can alter. Just like you're driving the car, when you overtake another car, it's not like you just cut through it. Yeah, you go ahead and then slowly you can get back to the lane which you were before. So that is what you have to do while navigating the ship. Okay, so let's jump on to the next part, that is E part. Alright guys, so we are going to start with the part E, which is basically that you can reduce the speed to avoid the collision or to assess the situation. Let's say you are not understanding what is going on outside. There is too much traffic and it is taking too much time to assess the situation. You can always reduce the speed so that it will be easier for you what is going on around you. Same like you are driving the car, if you are not understanding what is going on outside, let's say you are driving at night time, too many lights are coming from ahead, you always reduce the speed, assess the situation, what is going on, and then you proceed safely. That is what you do when you are navigating the ship. So that is what this part says. Let's jump on to the next part, that is the F part. Mind you, that part is the most important part in this rule number 8. That is the last part, which is F part, which we have 3 sub parts in that part. So you need to understand those things very clearly. They are hot topics for your oral examinations and also for your understanding. This need to be you need to be very thorough with that part, the F part of the rule number 8. Let's start with this. Okay guys, so we are going to start with the rule number 8 part F, which is the most important part of this rule, and we have 3 sub parts in this F part, and we are going to discuss with the first part now. Okay, so let's get started. The vessel which by of any of these rules is required not to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel, when required by circumstance of the case, take early actions to allow sufficient sea room for the safe passage of another vessel. Now the wording is little bit tricky here. What they are saying, if let's say they're actually what they are saying, that there are rules which are obviously the collision regulations for the vessels, and there are duties of the vessels as per the different situations. In a crossing situation, there is a vessel who is on the starboard side will take the action. On head-on collision, both of the vessel will take the action to the starboard side. So there are different situation and different actions for them. One might take the action to avoid the collision and one might not take the action. So there are different situation, different actions. Here we have considered two vessels. A vessel which should not impede the passage of another vessel. He should not create trouble for another vessel. Which vessel? Which can go with the safe passage. So there is a vessel with the safe passage and there is a vessel which should not impede the safe passage. So there are two vessels in this all the wordings which we are going to discuss. Okay, I'll take an example and I'll try to elaborate this thing. Let's say in the crossing situation, okay, in the crossing situation this is the another vessel, let's say T, target vessel, and this is U, okay, on vessel. Now as per the crossing situation, a vessel is on the starboard side, this vessel need to take the action. Okay, the problem is this is another vessel. Now your vessel will not take action. Of course there are other technicalities into this rule, but let's say your passage should not be impeded by this vessel. So this is a vessel which will not impede the passage of this vessel. Okay, this vessel what need to do, it need to allow the sufficient sea room. By doing what? By taking the early action. Let's say if this vessel, if she is observing that another vessel is coming, take early action, reduce the speed and let her go first. Let me go first, then you can go. Okay, very simple. They can reduce the speed early, or maybe they can alter the course early on before the risk of collision is happening. They can take the action and avoid any close quarter situation. Okay, they can do that. They have to take the early action. Now that is what all the part says, that a vessel which should not impede the passage of the vessel following the safe passage as per the rules, this vessel will take early action. Mind you, this wording is very important. Early action for sufficient sea room. Okay, this you need to take in mind. Let's start with the second part, which will confuse this one a little bit, but don't worry, you need to understand you have to take early action in this part to allow the sufficient sea room. Okay, alright guys, so we are going to start with the second part of the F rule, of the F part, sorry. In this part also they have talked about the vessel which should not impede the passage of the vessel which is following the safe passage. So two vessel, a vessel following the safe passage, another vessel should not impede the passage of the another vessel. Okay, so let's start. A vessel not to required to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel. So they are talking about the vessel which should not impede the passage of the vessel which is following the safe passage. Okay, so it is might little bit confusing for you, but try to understand a vessel which should not impede the passage. That vessel, what it should supposed to do is not relieved with the obligations if approaching another vessel, so as to involve the risk of collision. Now they have involved the wording, the risk of collision. In the earlier part I told you that there is vessel which should not impede the passage of another vessel, should take the early action so that there is a sufficient sea room, so that there is no risk of collision occurring before only. Okay, and now in this situation the risk of collision does appear. A vessel which is not to impede the passage is not relieved by the obligations. It means It's not like that they are relieved from their duties. They have to follow the rules even if the risk of collision has occurred. So first they have to take the early action. Let's say they have not taken it. Now the risk of collision is developing. Now they are not relieved with the duties. Okay, they cannot escape from it, and shall, when taking action, have full regards to the action which may be required by the rules of this part. Now the risk of collision has occurred. They have to take action, obviously, to avoid the collision, and the action which they have taken should be as per the rules of the road, should be as per the collision regulations. That is what they are telling. So basically, first you take the early action to avoid any close quarter situation. You give the sea room to another vessel and then proceed. If the risk of collision has occurred or developed, now also you have to take the action. It's not like you can say that, oh, I have missed the early action to take, now I will not take the action. No. If you have missed to take the early action, now the risk of collision does appear. Now you have to take the action as per the rules of the road. Okay, so that is what they are telling here in the second part. So what we were discussing before, that let's say it's a situation here, a crossing situation, another vessel, target vessel, your own vessel. This vessel need to take early action so that you can pass safely. Okay, might take alteration of the course or maybe the speed up to them. But if they have not taken the action and they are still proceeding, coming closer, now the risk of collision is developing. So this vessel, as per the rules, need to take the action. Go to the starboard, pass astern. Okay, so that is what the this part is telling us, that they are not relieved from their obligation, basically means the duties, because the risk of collision has existed. If they have not taken the early action, they have to take the action now. Okay, let's jump on to the third part, which will be regarding this vessel, a vessel which is following the safe passage. This vessel also have some duties. Basically in that part what they are discussing, that this vessel also need to take action if she finds out that this vessel is not taking any action because of some reason, I don't know, it could be anything, or maybe this vessel is taking action but that action is not sufficient to avoid the collision. Still this vessel will take the action to get out of the situation. It's not like she can say, oh, it was the duty of this vessel and I did not take the action and we collided. It is not like that. You cannot escape if the collision happened. You need to take the appropriate action to avoid the collision. That is the purpose of the rules. If you are not avoiding the collision, what is the purpose? Okay, let's jump on to the third part. Okay guys, so what the third part is saying, that a vessel, the passage of which is not to be impeded, means a vessel which is following the safe passage, which should not be impeded, remains fully obliged to comply with the rules of this part when the two vessels are approaching one another so as to involve the risk of collision. Okay, so also this vessel also remain fully obliged. They are not relieved from their duties. They will follow the rules as per given in the ROR. If as per the rule they need to take action, they will take action. If as per the rule they are required to maintain the course and speed, they will do that. Okay, it's not like they can get away from it. Please try to understand this thing, that nobody is safe. If something happens, both will go down to the hell. So always take this thing in mind. If you are following the safe passage, another vessel need not to be impede your passage, but you are also fully obliged to comply with the rules of the part when two vessels are approaching one another as to involve the risk of collision. If any risk of collision is there between you two vessels, and your passage not to be impeded, still you are fully obliged. Simple, which I discussed earlier, that you cannot escape from the rules, which is also rule number 2, which we discussed, responsibility. Alright, so that is what all about the rule number 8. This is the most important section, please mind it, and it's very simple. So let's revise what we have covered in this rule. We have covered that we can take two actions, that is alteration of the course or alteration of the speed. Mostly we will do the alteration of the course out at sea, because it is alone is the effective action to take. Okay, obviously you can reduce the speed to assess the situation and to avoid the collision, which we have also covered, and the action should be such that you can pass from the safe distance. Okay, and until the vessel is clear, you need to check the effectiveness of the action. Another thing which we have covered is that the action should be large enough to be readily apparent on the for the vessel visually or on the radar. Okay, and we have discussed the F part, which is about a vessel whose passage should not be impeded or a vessel following the safe passage. Okay, this is all about rule number 8, action to avoid collision. So that's it guys, we will go with the rule number 9 in the next video. That's all with the video now, and if you like this video, if you find it helpful, please press the like button and subscribe my channel, and do watch all other videos which I have put before. From I recommend you to start with the rule number 1, or before that I have also discussed about the content of the ROR. Please do watch it series wise so that you can have a understanding of the ROR. So that's it for today guys. This is Abhilash Thakur signing off.